I think that, to this point, Ja Morant has been the more impactful player to come out of the draft class. Alrighty, everybody, welcome back to another episode of NBA Now. It's your boy Dom, and we're gonna get right into things here today. So, today, we are talking about the Memphis Grizzlies, and more specifically, two players on the Memphis Grizzlies, and that is Ja Morant and that is Desmond Bane. Now, these guys are kind of blowing up the league right now. Obviously, a couple days ago they had that win over Golden State, where they ended up winning 104-101. They had a 3-point victory, and this team is looking good. I mean, they've lost to the Lakers and the Portland Trailblazers, but this team is looking good, especially for having some injuries on it. The team, a star on this team almost, in Dylan Brooks has been injured, and Desmond Bane has stepped up in that role. But really, I think we'll get to Desmond Bane here in a minute. I think the main focus of this video is going to be Ja Morant, and it's going to be kind of, is he the best player in the, to come out of the Zion draft? Is Ja Morant the best player to come out of the Zion draft? Because he's looking good, man. It's a guy that has made the playoffs, right? He continues to get better. I believe he set like a Grizzlies franchise record with first player in Grizzlies history to have 40 points and 10 assists in a game this season. And he's looking good, right? So far this year, he's averaging 30 points, almost 8 assists, over 5 rebounds, and looking solid. He's even getting almost 2 steals a game. And yeah, I think we all know the knock on Ja, and that's, his three-point ability. So far to start the season, he shot 40%. I don't expect that to keep up. He's making 2.6 on 6.4 attempts per game. I don't expect that to entirely keep up. I'd expect that to drop off at least a little bit. Maybe down to kind of what he's averaged so far, the 33, the 30%. But if his jumper does maintain, that will be insanely good for him. And overall, he's shooting 50-40. And then from the free throw line, he's shooting 85% from the free throw line almost. So 50-40-85. Super good season so far. And, looking solid, right? Again, kind of like I said, he's made the playoffs. He's averaging over 30 points per game. The only thing Zion really has over him is Zion's made an all-star team. And this is coming from a guy that has both their jerseys in his closet right now. I think that, to this point, Ja Morant has been the more impactful player to come out of the draft class. Now, when I say that, I don't mean when you are looking at a schedule and you look at a game, who would you be more afraid of? I think that's without doubt Zion, because he's just almost unstoppable in the paint. But that hasn't won him many games, right? So he might be a scarier guy to be going against, but at the end of the day, Ja Morant's winning, right? Ja Morant and the Memphis Grizzlies are winning. They're making winning moves. They're moving their roster around to make things happen. You look at this team, and a big piece of what they had was Jonas Valanciunas, who they traded to the Pelicans for Steven Adams, and yet they're still looking pretty solid, and they look like they're going to compete for a playoff spot yet again. In a year where, even I was like, I could see them kind of tapering off. But, guys have stepped up, such as Desmond Bane and such as DeAnthony Melton and stuff like that, and they're just making things happen. And I guess kind of to transition to Desmond Bane, this is a guy that, in 5 games this season, he's averaging almost 20 points per game at 19, 2 assists, and almost 5 rebounds per game. And looking super solid, right? That's a 10-point jump. He's averaging over a steal per game, and I mean, he doubled his assists, he doubled his steals, he's doubled his blocks per game, and gotten an extra rebound per game. Obviously, he's getting a lot more minutes right now due to injuries and stuff like that. But, you know, if this is a guy I think that really has kind of shown the league, even last year where he only averaged 9 or whatever it was, he's kind of shown the league, like, hey, you should have drafted me earlier. And, you know, it's a guy that I think he's definitely playing with a chip on his shoulder, considering the fact that not only was he drafted late, when a lot of people thought, you know, hey, this guy probably should have gotten picked about 10 picks ago, when he ended up getting picked, but the Celtics traded him away. You know, after being the 30th pick in the first round, right? They traded him away to Memphis for not very much, if I can remember, because I don't even remember what they traded him for. That's how little they got. I think they got like 2 second-round picks or something for him. But yeah, definitely a guy that like the Celtics could really, really use, right? Or any team can use, because he's a guy that's 6'5", 215. He can shoot the ball. He can guard 1 through 3. You know what I mean? He's put on a little bit more weight. Was an NBA-ready prospect coming in, and if he can, you know, keep up this secondary scoring ability, then, you know, you could see him maybe playing that starting 2 next to Dillon Brooks when Dillon Brooks comes back, and maybe you slide, you slide Kyle Anderson more to a bench role or stuff like that, and you kind of have this ability of having these 2 super good wing defenders in Dillon Brooks and Desmond Bane on the wing, but also Desmond Bane, like, you have Dillon Brooks to pick one of the perimeter players. That's who he's going to try and lock down for the night. You got Desmond Bane for the second guy, and you can kind of hide Ja a little bit. Although Ja's not a bad defender, he's just small, so, you know, at 6'1" or whatever, he can't switch as much, or just sometimes he can be lacking in that department just due to his height, right? But you can kind of hide him but behind those 2 defenders on the wings, and then both of them can shoot, especially Desmond Bane. He's a pretty knockdown shooter. I guess Ja Morant's actually 6'3", but still, you get my point. And, I mean, Desmond Bane could be that, you know, potential second scoring option on the perimeter next to Ja Morant. It takes some of that pressure off Dillon Brooks, especially, you know, after he comes back from injury, to just be able to ease into things and stuff like that. And then, you know, if you have that strong perimeter presence with those 3 players, you know, guys like Jaren Jackson, guys like Brandon Clark, guys like Steven Adams, and Xavier Tillman, right, on the inside, they can kind of get a little bit more going when they're in the game, because you're going to be forcing these defenders to defend the perimeter so much more that it opens it up a little bit more. Now, I think, you know, obviously when you look at Jaren Jackson, he's a guy that's going to score more outside in from the big position. But, shoot, you know, Brandon Clark ends up getting a switch where he's got a good, you know, defensive matchup. Well, they're not going to be able to help on that, and he's going to be able to go get himself a bucket if those other guys are sitting out on the perimeter, because you could even just, you know, I know Ja Morant, like I said, he's having a good 3-point shooting season so far, but typically he's not going to be that great, and you'd rather live with, if you're going to make the Grizzlies live and die by his 3, you're probably going to win. But if you've got those 3 guys on the perimeter, well, you can have Brandon Clark try and get a bucket on the inside, for example, again, and at worst case scenario, they kick it back out to Ja Morant, and, you know, he does some creation and whatnot, and you've still got those 2 shooters out there, especially if you have Jaren Jackson playing at the center position in, like, a lineup like that, where you can have him kind of spacing it out, and that just opens up things so much more for them. Ja Morant's driving and kick ability is super, super impressive, and, I mean, the Grizzlies have just led to winning basketball. Ever since he got there, they've just been a winning basketball team. Not insanely crazy or anything like that, but I would say that the Grizzlies, to a lesser extent, are starting to kind of seem like a Spurs in the Western Conference, right? They're always going to be a team that's there. They're always going to be a team that you got to compete with, and the Grizzlies have more talent than the Spurs. Just beware of that, okay? So they're like a more talented Spurs almost at this point, I think, where it's a team that night in and night out you're going to have to compete with. You might have more talent than them, because the Western Conference is very talented, but you can't sleep, or this team is going to put you on a highlight reel with Ja Morant dunking on you, multiple guys being able to just hit threes from the outside, strong defensive plays from like Jaren Jackson and Steven Adams and stuff like that, where they're just defending the rim on you. And like, this team doesn't appear that they take nights off. You know what I mean? They're not like some super teams or whatnot, where a super team sometimes will look at their matchup and be like, oh, we got this, and not come out truly to play. Well, if they looked at the Grizzlies like that, they're going to come out and they're going to lose. And I think that that's something that, the Grizzlies can definitely hold over their heads, and definitely brings them together. But yeah, I mean, Ja Morant, potentially the best player to come out of the 2019 NBA draft at this point, and it's kind of crazy to say that, with Zion already making an All-Star team. But look, Ja's made the playoffs. They're 3-2 right now, and when you look over at the Pelicans, it's a dumpster fire. I mean, this is a team that is 1-5 and is just not playing good basketball, right? If you're not winning at the end of the day, eventually you have to win. And so it kind of shows, like, part of why would Zion be a little angry that he's still there? Well, because they're losing, right? I mean, when you look at it over on the New Orleans Pelicans, like I said, they're 1-5. They're worst in the Western Conference. They've lost to Sacramento. They lost to Atlanta. The only team they beat was Minnesota. And then they also lost to Minnesota. And then they also lost to Chicago, right? And then when you go look at this Minnesota team that they beat, that's pretty shocking, because the Minnesota Timberwolves are having a damn good season so far. The Minnesota Timberwolves beat the Houston Rockets, who aren't that great. They beat the New Orleans Pelicans and then lost to them. And then they went out and they beat the Milwaukee Bucks. And it didn't matter what Giannis did. They were still able to beat them. And so that's kind of crazy. I mean, that's another video for another day. But it just really shows how Ja has brought stability to the Grizzlies, and how Zion has kind of kept chaos in New Orleans, right? Is the way I'd describe that. But yeah, super excited to see what Ja Morant and Desmond Bane can do for the rest of the season. Obviously, Zion's been out with an injury to start the season for the Pelicans, but I'm also super excited to see how that looks for them as the season continues, and see if they can kind of try and turn things around, and who knows, maybe prove me wrong and make the playoffs, and kind of bring playoff basketball back to New Orleans. So, I'd love to see these teams match up in the playoffs at some point in time. It'd be a super fascinating series to watch. And yeah, that's kind of going to be it from me today. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys think Ja can accomplish this year. Let me know how good you guys really think Desmond Bane is going to be, because so far he's looked pretty damn good. So, yep, it's been your boy Dom, and I'll catch y'all later. Peace out.